They just don't get it, do they? Every time they try to release something, they mess it up. Why? Because they don't give a crap about historical accuracy. The same people who came out and said, well, we're working closely to ensure that we're as historically accurate as possible, have been spitting in the face of the Japanese this entire time. So anyone who wants to continue freaking jerking this company off, you're only allowing this crap because everyone else can see what's going on here. These professionals that they're working closely with aren't real professionals. One of them was exposed as like a fucking Japanese American woman. Never even been to Japan, wasn't even born in Japan. And yet somehow they could work with that person for historical accuracy. No. Ubisoft botches Assassin's Creed Shadows Collector's Edition wall scroll, and Japanese fans are furious. The scroll. Creed wall scroll. Meticulously crafted wall scroll measuring 70 by 30 centimeters, with the creed of the assassins at its heart. From vengeance to solidarity, from darkness to light, a new creed rises over Japan, made from fabric and supported by wooden holders. Ubisoft can't catch a break when it comes to cultural accuracy. This time, it's the Assassin's Creed Shadows Collector's Edition that's drawing criticism. Not for its in-game content, but for a glaringly inaccurate Japanese wall scroll that has left actual Japanese people shaking their heads in disappointment. This is a French company. You really think they give a shit about fucking Japan? You really think they care? No, they don't. It's been one giant spit in the face, towards Japan since this whole thing started. Using a black man who wasn't even a freaking samurai at that time as the main character instead of an actual samurai who was known. The Chinese architecture rather than Japanese. Using a like a reenactment group's banner, trying to pass it off as if it was historically accurate and putting it in game. The one-legged Torii gate, trying to, with that, when that was a freaking more of a symbol of, Nagasaki after it was fucking bombed. It's just one thing after another with these people. They don't give a flying fuck about Japan or historical accuracy. The backlash started when Dr. Alaric Nade, who, per his bio, is an expert in East Asian language and cultures, took to Twitter to tear apart Ubisoft's supposed attempt at authenticity. And again, these people were like, oh, we work closely with experts to ensure that the game is as historically accurate as possible. Why you fucking lying? It's like, clearly you're not. Because every time you try to release something that's Japanese, it always ends up being Chinese. It basically sounds kind of racist because they clearly think that like Chinese and Japanese are the same thing. Two totally different countries separated by a large body of water. They're not the fucking same place. But no, every time they do it, it's freaking Chinese. They seem to think that it's China. His detailed analysis of the scroll exposed quite a stunning amount of lack of cultural awareness, showing that Ubisoft has yet again failed to do even the most basic research. Why do they need consultancy companies if they don't do anything? The wall scroll isn't Japanese. It's a Western caricature. Dr. Nade's critique highlights a ton of glaring errors in the design of the wall scroll, which are painfully obvious to anyone familiar with traditional Japanese aesthetics. Chinese calligraphy, not Japanese. The font style chosen is undeniably Chinese from China. In appearance, not Japanese. This is a fundamental mistake that immediately reveals a lack of proper oversight. Numero dos. Thin, unbalanced lines. Traditional Japanese calligraphy emphasizes brushstroke, balance, and character proportions. Ubisoft's design features overly thin lines that do not match the style expected in historical Japanese scrolls. Incorrect text placement and layout. In traditional Japanese scrolls, writing is almost always placed on the top right corner and arranged vertically from right to left. Ubisoft's version completely disregards that, opting for a more westernized, centered alignment with that clashes with historical conventions. Red ink is extremely rare. Writing in red ink is almost never done in Japanese or Chinese calligraphy, except for very specific cases such as corrections or seals. Using it here makes it stand out in the worst possible way. Improper aspect ratio and composition. Authentic hanging scrolls have a carefully maintained ratio of height and width to 3:1 or 2:1. Furthermore, 3:1 or 2:1. Furthermore, the balance between calligraphy and the painting should be 1:2 or 2:1, creating a natural harmony. Ubisoft's version completely ignores these traditional proportions, making it look like a cheap knockoff rather than a faithful historical recreation. Do you really think they care? Again, it's just been one spit in the face to China or to Japan this entire time. Actually, it's a huge spit in the face to China as well, because they're basically saying that they can't tell the difference between Chinese and Japanese, despite the fact that they are working closely with experts. So if you want to be one of those people who constantly fucking sucks their cock and tries to defend them, you're only showing your true colors, because clearly you're supporting a company who doesn't know the difference between Japanese and Chinese, and who is working closely with experts, and yet they're still getting every single aspect of it wrong. But sure, keep sucking their cocks. How's that freaking company dick taste? It tastes French. It's like, what's that supposed to mean? I don't know. What does French dick taste like? A failure in cultural authenticity. This isn't just a minor artistic critique. It's another blatant attempt of Ubisoft failing to respect the culture it's supposedly celebrating. Assassin's Creed Shadows, a game set in feudal Japan, is already facing quite a lot of skepticism over how well a Western studio can portray the era with accuracy. A botched collector's item only adds fuel to the fire. Dr. Nade's final take is damning. To me, this does not seem to have been designed by an Asian person. Rather, it looks like what a Westerner would imagine an Asian style hanging scroll. It seems like Ubisoft has no regard for quality control or authenticity. This isn't even Asian or even Japanese. And that's the real issue here. This isn't about nitpicking aesthetics. It's about Ubisoft's continued unending pattern of treating historical and cultural representation like a mere afterthought. Again, if this was a one-time thing, no, but they have consistently done this. So it kind of makes you think. It's like, are they doing it on purpose at this point? Because again, we're working close with professionals and experts. And the experts see this and they're like, oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yep, that's completely representative of ancient Japan. Please. Who are these experts that they're talking to? I know one of them we showed was some like blue-haired Japanese American chick. Never been to Japan, wasn't even born in Japan, and that's a professional that they were asking. So, like, who are these other professionals and these experts that they're talking to? With Japanese gamers and cultural experts alike calling out the blatant mistakes, Ubisoft needs to ask itself about Ubisoft. Wait, Ubisoft needs to ask itself about Ubisoft once again. If they can't even get a simple collector's item right, how can fans trust it to portray feudal Japan accurately in the game itself. Yeah. It is very nitpicky, but deserved. Once again, once a game loses any good faith, this is what happens. If Ubisoft hired actual cultural experts rather than communists who wanted to push Yasuke as an important historical figure, then maybe this would have been done better. Yeah, that was the whole point. You know, this was at a time where they were trying to pander to basically Black Lives Matter, which is why Yasuke looks very similar to George Floyd, because they thought that they could pander to people, which is, it just shows how racist Ubisoft actually is. Between having a dude who looks like George Floyd as the main protagonist, having the hip hop or whatever track over his trailer, the constant disrespect towards Japan, Chinese crap instead of Japanese, basically saying, oh, well, we're stupid and we can't tell the difference between Chinese and Japanese. You know, they're extremely racist. And these are the ones who are like, oh, we're fighting racism. No, you're not. You're partaking in it, you fucking douchebag. When you're sitting there and you constantly use Chinese architecture or Chinese calligraphy or Chinese this instead of Japanese, you're basically saying, we don't know the difference between Japanese and Chinese because they all look the same to us. So, clearly China and Japan are not the same place. Clearly not the same place. So, here's a map. We got Mongolia, we got India, Nepal, Bangladesh. We have China. This whole thing is China. We've got North and South Korea, and over here, we've got Japan. Clearly, and it's separated by a large body of water. And yet, Ubisoft, who is supposedly working with experts and professionals, can't tell that these two places are completely separate from each other. They're completely separate. Two totally different countries. So, you want to keep sucking their freaking dick and defending them? They clearly don't care about historical accuracy. They don't care, because this isn't a one-time thing. They have consistently done this since the beginning. They have done it since the beginning, and every time you get those people like, oh, leave big company alone, which allows them to just keep doing it. Which allows them to just keep disrespecting cultures. But sure, Ubisoft, let's go with this. We'll see how many people actually buy this piece of shit, and we'll see how happy people are when they all finally realize that this is more of Chinese calligraphy instead of Japanese. You know, Japanese, Japan, where the game supposedly takes place. But sure, keep defending the big company. Anyway, that's going to do for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.